Hi, I'm Michael Dresser. I'm sure you've heard the expression practice makes perfect. And while I'm not sure that there is such a thing as perfect, I do know that practice is often where the magic of real learning or making impactful changes really happens. So it's estimated that it takes 10,000 repetitions to create a new neural pathway, and anywhere between 3 and 6 months for a new behavior to become a habit. That's a lot of practice. And it's not something that our quick fix culture is really geared up for. So, Richard Strozzi Hegler, who's an expert in somatic learning, which means the learning is happening through feeling it in the body rather than just thinking about it. So, he's talked about this paradox and he's said that even though there is an unequivocal scientific evidence that we learn and change through recurrent practices, it still doesn't exist as our common understanding that transformation occurs because of new practices. And therefore, we're inclined to lean on hope and idealism that will change simply because we've been introduced to a new idea. And he also goes on to point out that the consequences of relying on hope without practice generally leads to what he rather gloomily describes as a downward spiral of frustration, resignation, and hopelessness. So I imagine that might be ringing some bells for you if you've ever had high hopes of trying to change something about yourself but not got very far with it. So it's really clear to me that if we want to make meaningful, lasting changes, we really need to include practice as an integral part of that process. But coming back to something repeatedly over time is often, certainly in my experience, where the stumbling block is. So, how can you give yourself the best chance of developing and staying with a practice? So, I know from my own experiences with practicing stuff, and of course from my work as a coach, that one of the things which can make a really big difference to how engaged I'm able to stay with a practice is having someone alongside me. So we've all heard how effective this can be with things like having a personal trainer at the gym, or even a regular therapist, or even something like a study buddy. But that's not something that we can all afford or something we can all access on a regular basis. And it's the word regular here actually that is really important when it comes to practice. And actually, in fact, having someone alongside you doesn't necessarily mean they have to be physically there or even live. So a while ago, I experienced a really practical example of this. So I'd been trying for ages to do a particular bit of emotional processing, and I'd been to workshops. I'd even done some one-off intensives with some different coaches, but I'd been struggling to create or maintain any progress with it on my own, even though I had lots of great reference materials and practice ideas. And then I started using a pre-recorded guided practice, and I was immediately struck by how much easier I found it to access my emotional vulnerability when somebody else was holding that space for me, even if that space was on a recording, and a recording that I'd heard lots of times already. Just hearing somebody else guide me, so I didn't have to do that for myself, really enabled me to let go enough to access the parts of me that couldn't emerge when I was trying to do it all by myself. And it kind of amazed me, even just how much a recording could help me feel not quite so alone with my practice. And this experience has really changed how I offer my self-study courses to clients. So we've all bought courses with great hopefulness, and then it just sits on the shelf gathering dust because somehow we just can't get going on our own. So now I offer what I call supported self-study, where there are plenty of guided practices. So you can focus on diving into your experience with the practice rather than just reading something and trying to do it all on your own and figure it out yourself. And even though it's self-study, I always offer at least one live call with me where you can get my support with any challenges that you're experiencing as you go through your practice. Because ultimately, Real learning and growth and change happens over time with practice. And practice is so much easier to do when you've got someone alongside you, holding that space for you, bearing witness, or just generally helping you stay accountable to your intentions. So check out the link below to access one of my supported self-study courses and try it for yourself. And like and subscribe to stay informed whenever I add more resources to my channel.